Well, look, I was about to say we'd go to the panel, two good ladies, but we're now -1. This is this Skype stuff, lockdown stuff. It's very difficult. We had Conchetta Fierveranti-Wells half an hour ago, but now her line has gone down. I will just say that if she was in the National Party, she'd be in the Cabinet. I will be talking to her further down the track about the crisis in aged care. Senator Fierveranti-Wells has forgotten more about that than most people know. But then we've got she's got me on her own tonight, the formidable and unflappable lady who irritates the other political side because they're terrified she might become leader, Tanya Plibersek. So, Tanya,
Hello,
tonight
Alan.
you're on your own. Just some information first. Only a couple of hours ago, we learnt that a woman has died within 5 weeks of receiving her first dose of AstraZeneca in Australia, while 16 patients are in hospital after suffering blood clots. Now, I think government and the regulators are getting nervous because we haven't been given the benefit of world scholarship on these issues. It doesn't surprise me that the Therapeutic Goods Administration is now saying the death may have been related to pre-existing medical conditions and travelling. My own personal view is we're going to increasingly see the Morrison government running for cover on this. So can I come to you, Tanya, on this? The Prime Minister said 2 weeks ago AstraZeneca vaccine was for only over 60s. On Monday night, he said, away you go, over 18, but the government will indemnify the doctor. Doesn't the government, therefore, must know there are risks? Otherwise, why would you indemnify the doctors?
Well, I think the Prime Minister's intervention recently has been really unhelpful and confusing. He's just kind of thrown a grenade into the middle of this debate and then walked away, leaving chaos behind him. It is, I think, really important that we get Australians vaccinated and that we really get quarantine right. We know that the tourist hotels that are housing people with the virus are not the appropriate accommodation. We've seen 26 outbreaks of this virus from hotel quarantine. But coming back to the vaccination program, I think it's alarming that the Prime Minister has introduced this element of uncertainty and then just walked away.
But if I could just interrupt you there,
There's been radio
Tanya.
silence for 3 days now. We've heard nothing. It's caused chaos and then he goes into hiding.
If I could just interrupt there, though, I mean, you're talking about they must get vaccinated, but you can understand the hesitancy out there. How can a government endorse a medical vaccine treatment where evidence suggests the risks may outweigh the benefits? And that's confirmed by the government saying we'll indemnify the doctors. I mean, the difficulty for the people out there, Tanya, is they're thinking the government and the opposition are on the same page. I mean, you're all saying we listen to the science. Can I ask you, are you aware that Mike Yaden was the Chief Scientific Officer running research and development at Pfizer for 17 years? He said he is, quote, and this is in the last 10 days, deeply concerned about the failure to do proper safety trials and attempts to foist the vaccines on those who don't need them, healthy people aged 60 and under, is resulting in avoidable deaths and constitutes a crime against humanity. Shouldn't the government make that knowledge available to the Australian people?
Look, I think, Alan, you're right in saying that if new information comes to light, we have to consider that new information. But at the moment, the vast weight of medical advice and opinion is that it's right for Australians to get vaccinated.
But this is the bloke who invented them. This is the bloke who invented them. He said, hang on, see, Tanya, let me tell you again, that are you aware, and I'm sure you're not, you're a busy lady and so on, and you don't have to be, you're not the government. There are 27 doctors, including our own Professor Peter Collignon from the ANU, have lodged a petition with the US Food and Drug Administration asking the agency to, quote, slow down and get the science right before granting full approval for the vaccines. Now, of course, the manufacturer wants the approval because there are billions of dollars tied up. But these 27 doctors say the existing evidence is not mature enough to judge whether the clinical benefits outweigh the risks. Again, shouldn't the Australian public be told this?
Well, the Australian public should have as much information as possible and we should be listening primarily to our Therapeutic Goods Administration. ATAGI is the other group of medical experts that is leading the advice to government.
But Peter Collignon is one of those.
Yeah, Peter Collignon. And as I say, Alan, it is important to keep an open mind and consider new information as it comes to light. What is really troubling here is that the Australian government did 2 deals for vaccines with AstraZeneca and Pfizer. We should have had more options available for Australians. More options on the table means a greater chance of getting a safe jab into people's arms.
Tanya, I just like the information to be on the table. Dr. Robert Malone is a virologist. Say, listen to the experts. Listen to the science. He's a virologist, a molecular biologist, an immunologist. 100 peer-reviewed publications, over 11,477 citations of his peer-reviewed publications. He invented the genetic vaccines, and he's saying there's every likelihood that ivermectin may well be preferable to the vaccines. His words exactly. This looks like a very plausible scenario from where I sit. Again, I ask you, shouldn't the Australian public, let alone the government, put these opinions from real experts on the table?
I think it's wise to listen to real experts and to be guided in our final decisions by the organisations that government has selected to help us make these big decisions. Of course, in any medical or scientific debate, you'll have a bulk of opinion and you'll have a few people arguing with the bulk of opinion. That's how science works. We need to go with the bulk of opinion on these things.
I think the bulk of opinion is opposed to the strategy the federal government is taking. See, what about the...
Yeah, it's been a disaster, Alan. I can't disagree with you on that.
The chief health officer in Queensland yesterday told 18-year-olds, don't take the vaccine because, her words, without it, you probably won't die. Yet these young 18-year-olds have been locked up, locked down, traumatised, demoralised because we have to lock you down. You might die from coronavirus. Tanya, which is it?
Well, Alan, they might not die. They might give it to their grandmother, who will. This is an effort to stop the spread of a very infectious strain of the virus, but it doesn't help that we've got so few Australians vaccinated. We've got just over 4% when other countries have got half of their population or more fully vaccinated. We're at the bottom of the table when it comes to vaccination rates. And it doesn't help that we keep having breakouts from hotel quarantine because hotels are not made to house people that are infectious with a highly transmissible virus. They're made to house tourists. And here we have, you saw the stories today. We've got thousands of people every month coming to Australia, staying in these quarantine hotels because they want to have a holiday and catch up with friends. That to me is nuts.
Could I just make one final point? It's the 1st of July. This has been going on for 18 months. I'm the only person, I'm not giving myself a rap here, I'm the only person in 18 months who's persistently tried to tell viewers out there and through the articles that I've written in the paper that worldwide of this virus, today, 99.3% of the cases are mild, and in Australia, 99.7% of the cases are mild. My final question, why the alarmism and the fear and the hysteria? Don't we have to dismantle this?
Well, I think it's right to be cautious, Alan. You look at the death toll overseas, it might be a small proportion of people who die, but if a lot of people get the virus, then a lot of people end up dying. And what have we hit? 600,000 in the US, around about. It is shocking, these high death tolls. We don't want that in Australia.
No. John Donne said any death diminishes me because we're part of mankind, but nothing in America, it's fewer than 1% of the population. Tanya, you're on your own, a sole job tonight. Thank you for your time. Have a good weekend and we'll see you next week. There she is,
You too.
Tanya Plibersek.